have you guys ever had these like little snack things? My girlfriend, she keeps on buying these, and I just eat them. I think they're for her, but I just eat them anyway. Ooh. So a few weeks ago, I made a video saying that Krav Maga is a scam, basically calling it out for all of the BS that it has. And a couple of you guys actually sent me back some really lengthy responses, and some of you guys even actually managed to contact me personally directly and tell me what it was that they thought that I was wrong in, which is fair. I mean, I wanted that criticism. I got a couple emails, which was pretty awesome, explaining their position in Krav Maga, which was not sure how that happened. Oh. Feel free to donate so I can get better equipment. Take two. So you guys reached back out to me and you were telling me all these different types of things that is like, oh, well, Krav is great, Krav does this, but in reality, Krav is supposed to be more for the constant attack. Now that's true. Krav is supposed to be for the constant attack, but the problem is that's a philosophy. It's not necessarily even a good philosophy. It's just a reality of combat systems. It's something that you would try to do or try to implement in your martial art system. In other words, it's no different than if you were to say have Taekwondo, which is a long-standing, more established, more specialized format of hand-to-hand combat, which in this case I guess would be leg-to-hand combat, Taekwondo. Then you would have a very specific format to be able to operate under. However, Krav Maga doesn't have that same system. It doesn't have that same structural hand-to-hand combat format. It has the philosophy. It's based off of a philosophy. Lichtenfield, who's the founder of Krav Maga, comes from a Shotokan karate background, or a type of karate background, Japanese karate. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually fantastic that he does that, but at the same time, the problem is it takes the problems of karate and it puts it directly into Krav Maga. And if you take those things and you take Krav Maga and you only operate off of the problems of karate, what I mean by that is you're not getting the same responses, you're not getting the same information that karate is providing, and you're just taking the shortcuts. It's essentially, here, let me back this up. It's essentially only doing a bit of the kata that seems really cool without doing the full kata. And if you don't do the full kata, then you're missing out on the bigger picture on just that one specific section. Now, if you take that one specific section of the kata and you try to implement it into combat, you're never, ever going to be good at it simply because you're missing the full picture. Now, that doesn't mean that katas are actually beneficial when it comes to hand-to-hand combat. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that you're getting a very specific, small bit of hand-to-hand combat, and then you're trying to apply it to a more generally broader term for hand-to-hand combat, which doesn't help anyone. Now, one of the ways that you can overcome this incredibly dire issue for Krav Maga happens to be that, one of the best ways that you could do it is first, the only way that you could overcome this is quite literally creating a structural system. Like Taekwondo, for example, right? Just for example. We'll go through a couple other martial arts to set the trend for it. Taekwondo primarily uses legs, but there's a reason for that. The reason for that was because they wanted to be able to kick their opponents off, and they had to be able to use more ability when it came to leg usage. There was a military strategic platform for it. Take Thai boxing. Right? The king, I'm butchering the story, so if you guys who are Thai fighters and you know this story, feel free to actually correct me on this in the link in the comment section down below. So correct me there. I believe there was a system where there was a bunch of different participants that were trying to prove that their hand-to-hand combat system was the best, and Thai boxing ended up being the primary platform of hand-to-hand combat, and the king liked it because it was the most profound and proficient one, and he used it for all of his guards. So he said all of the guards are going to learn from this guy because this guy managed to beat his way to the top, quite literally. And that became Thai, and that became Thai boxing, and that became everything that everyone used because the king mandated it, because it was effective. Now, if you go down to different types of martial arts, like capoeira, right? Capoeira, for example, it's a dancing system. Why is it a dancing system of martial arts? Well, the reason for that was because back in the day, the slaves didn't want to be beaten, and they wanted to be able to practice martial arts in a format that was hidden. So what did they do? They created a dancing system around it, which then hid what it actually was. So it looks like they're dancing, but they're actually fighting. So you see that all of these things have different types of purposes for its creation. In Shaolin Kung Fu, for example, I think it was the 28th disciple from Buddha. Shaolin Templists would disagree, and they'll say that there's a new format for it, which I've been told this. I don't know if it's true. I've looked for it for quite some time. I have not found anything to counter this. But as far as I'm aware, it's the 28th disciple, who was Damo, who then created the animal forms for the Shaolin Temple. And essentially what that ended up being, it ended up being 2-in-1 things. It ended up being a system for physical health and a system for hand-to-hand combat that you can then derive from, which then you led into all of the different types of weapons training, because, if you could derive the movements from weapons, from animals, which is what Damo did. He created the system. I'm going to bring it back to Krav, I guarantee, which he derived it from hand-to-hand combat, from the animals, mimicking those motions. That made sense. And they were just like, okay, well, then we can do the exact same thing with farming tools. So they had the scythe, but then they raised it so they can aim more accurately at different opponents and whatnot. And over time, we have what we have now, which is Shaolin Kung Fu, which is an amazing system of combat, by the way. Boxing pretty much has just been around since the beginning of time, Cain and Abel days. And that's just literally punching someone back and forth. I mean, there's Egyptian hieroglyphs of this. This stuff is old, especially boxing. Pancration, I think it was probably one of the most effective, but it ended up dying really quickly. I'm not too sure why it died. There's very little information on pancration around the world. There's some archaeologists in Rome or some jazz that are looking it up and trying to discover pancration to a better degree. But going back to Krav Maga, the biggest problem with Krav Maga is that you already have the development of the gun, right? In Taekwondo ages, right? You didn't have the rifle where you could be away from your opponent and be able to shoot them. They didn't have the rifle in Shaolin Temple, right, or any type of handgun where they could continuously fire at the individual who's coming in to steal their stuff or who is stealing their stuff. And they didn't have the ability to use a small tool to be able to counteract big opponents, which is what the gun is. So Krav Maga is trying to apply a bandage to something that it doesn't need, essentially. But they're kind of also going about it in the wrong way. What I mean by that is, if you have a rifle and 4 other people with you that all have rifles to different degrees, or a handgun to a different degree, all projectile weapons, the need for hand-to-hand combat is incredibly low. Right? If you're a police officer, or if you, like, this is another reason what I was saying in the video, is like, the reason it became really popular in law enforcement is because it's designed for people in law enforcement. Not that it makes it better or it's more effective, it's because it's designed for you to rely always back on your weapons. Now, that's not necessarily a great thing, especially when it comes to anything regarding hand-to-hand self-defense. Especially when it comes to anything that's regarding self-defense. Now, if you want to learn self-defense, you have to learn an array of things. And the only way that you can learn this array of things is if you quite literally learn everything that there is to hand-to-hand combat. And then you have to learn on to weapons training. But how do you fix Krav Maga? Again, this is the issue. How do you fix Krav Maga from this unfortunate reality? Well, it's pretty simple. you basically have to incorporate literally everything. And I don't think there's going to be many more martial arts after this, after Krav. I mean, there's like a couple new martial arts that are popping up, but I think Krav should be the pinnacle of the martial arts. I think it should be the very, very last thing. Not because I am biased towards Israel or the Israeli military at all. I don't think I am, but when we look at different types of rules for self-defense, this is a book that I accidentally purchased from, this is a book that I accidentally purchased from the library in my local jurisdiction. Actually, I think it was in Seattle, right? So here's the book. Common Sense Self-Defense, seven rules that can save your life, right? So here's the difference between my book and this book. I just opened it up to you, random page 17, page 17, tips to avoid an assault. Right there, right? Like you don't even have to go that much further. Tips to avoid an assault. Like let's read the first paragraph and hopefully you'll see what I mean. Protect yourself from strangers. A smiling face can hide a deceitful mind. Don't put yourself into compromising situations with strangers. Don't accept car rides from strangers. If a friend can't pick you up and you have no money for a taxi cab, call the police. They will make sure you get home safely. A, the police is, I mean, I don't know if you did anything, if you're around in 2020, I don't think the police is going to do that for you. But B, it's books like these that ruin martial arts for quite literally everyone. And I don't mean that in a sense that that book is a terrible book, although it is a terrible book. But what I do mean is you have to trust your community. You have to be able to know that you live in a safe space. You have to be able to commune yourselves. This avoid strangers because stranger danger is true. Not everyone's out there to be good, but this is just fear mongering. Let's pick another place in this book, and I'll show you what I mean by fear mongering. Again, I'm gonna open it up. Right. Oh, I just did that one. Right here. Let's see what this is. Some general verbal and nonverbal advice guidelines. Use loud, confident words to startle your attacker. Stop. Make eye contact. Making eye contact is a powerful statement of self-confidence. Maybe, or you're just a weirdo. And also, if the person, like this is also another thing, like how is that useful information? If the person's willing to hurt you, if the person's willing to cause you damage, eye contact is not going to stop them. Agree with the stranger, convince them converse for an understanding. So talk to them. Like this is what self-defense is nowadays. I don't love everything that's in here, but it's definitely a conversation. It's 100% a conversation. But if you see, like, it sells you techniques. So let's see if I can find a technique. Let's see if I can find a technique and I could show you what it is that I mean. Okay. The groin kick. How to use the groin kick. Kick your attacker in the groin. Common self-defense. What is it? Common sense self-defense. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, it literally says that. How to use the groin kick. Kick your attacker in the groin. Beautiful. Well said. Step into the kick as if you were kicking a door down. That's actually not how you throw a groin kick. That's actually not how you throw a groin kick, because if you're kicking the door down, you're like pushing onto it. Yeah, anyway, my book is online. It's like $8 or free if you have Kindle, whatever it is. And the podcast is also going to be linked in the description down below. It's just absolutely amazing that, that those are books. This is what self-defense is nowadays. And it's just like, this is a common book. Like, people bought this. I think people spent $10 on this book. My book is cheaper and better, so damn. How to kick someone in the groin. Kick them in the groin. I haven't even read that book in full. I picked it up because it was stupid. That's some funny shit. Anyway, going back to Krav. The idea that what I'm trying to say with Krav is essentially that you have to redefine the entire thing. If you want to redefine the entire thing, you have to start with kicks, how to throw proper kicks. You can throw a kick in your own style. There's many different ways. I think, was it Thai boxing and Taekwondo and general Kung Fu or Sanda, they all have 3 different formats of throwing the same kick. Like Thai boxing, maybe I can find a video and clip it and put it in here, but Thai boxing, they have the pivot first, right? And Taekwondo, sometimes they pivot first, sometimes they pivot afterwards. In Kung Fu, generally speaking, they have the pivot afterwards. Now, all of these different types of formats of throwing the exact same kick, I mean, there's different reasons for it, right? Like you have the Thai boxing, which can generate a lot of power, but then you have Kung Fu, and then you have karate. You have a whole bunch of different ways to throw the exact same thing, but fundamentally it's the exact same kick, just done differently. Even in capoeira. Capoeira's round kicks, completely different to everyone else, but it's the same kick. It's done the same way. So what I think should be done, I think Krav should genuinely redefine the basics things before they get into the technical stuff, because they don't have hand-to-hand combat down. They don't have it, right? If you took a Krav individual, Coco, did you take a shit? Holy fuck! Damn! Oh my God, Coco, what the fuck? Oh, it's so bad. Oh my God. God, man, what are we feeding? You gotta stop giving your cats dairy. It's not good for them. It's not good for the environment. It stinks. Yeah, it's totally safe next to all that gunpowder. You're gonna have to restart everything, because right now, Krav versus Krav Maga with just upper hand body movements versus boxing, the boxer's forever going to win. And the reason, and some people get confused why I say, well, Krav is supposed to use all its tools. That's not the point of me creating that argument. The point of me creating this argument is quite literally just to show that Krav Maga cannot be restricted against, like, it has to have everything. Otherwise, it's not effective, right? And sometimes, in certain situations, you just simply can't kick someone. That's fair. Like, sometimes the ground is slippery. Sometimes it's not even ground. Sometimes you are not comfortable with kicking a person. Sometimes people don't have mobility in legs, right? And that's what I'm trying to say. If you can't throw the punch because the ground, or because, if you can't throw a punch because the scenario doesn't provide it, you don't have enough space, or, oh my God, damn, that cat. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, that is bad. Oh, there's something wrong with this dog. Oh, well, it's a cat, but fucking A, my guy. Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. It's disgusting. I can't even remember what the fuck I was saying. I don't have enough candles for this asshole. Oof. Anyway. Oof. I'm trying. Like making the smell different. Making it smell different. Making it smell better. Fucking A, dude. That is some stanky shit. Oh! Are you still shitting? Did you just take a shit? Fuck. Don't look at me all guilty like. You know what you did. Took a shit the size of King Coon's asshole. Why is there a shopping cart in here? Oh, man. So the objective that I'm trying to say is essentially that Krav Maga does not have the ability to handle one-on-one isolated events. If you took a gun expert and you put him up against Krav Maga and gave them a gun, Krav Maga will always lose against a gun expert. You took boxing versus Krav and told boxing and Krav to just box, the boxer will always win. Taekwondo, nothing but legs, Taekwondo will always win. Jiu-jitsu or any type of submission wrestling, the submission wrestler will always win. Why? Why is that the case? Why is it that not even halfway through can a Krav-only based martial arts system defend itself? But if you take kickboxing and you compare it to a boxer, you have a good standing to be able to fight. A recent example of this is Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. Sure, most people don't like that. A lot of people will say that Conor McGregor got his his dairy air handed to him. But you still have to respect the fact that Conor McGregor was able to last more than one round with him. I don't think the same can be said for Krav Maga. And the reason for that is because they don't focus the same level of effort? No. They don't put the same amount of dedication. That's the word, I guess, whatever. They don't put the same level of dedication, that's what it was. They don't put the same level of dedication into the movements of the delivery of the combat strike as opposed to simply just delivering the combat strike in the assumption that it will be delivered properly. In other words, I'm sure a lot of you Krav people out there have certain bags, right, where you put on the ground and you just start beating. That's not helping anyone. Anyone in the planet can do that. That's not an effective manner of learning how to punch. Or you just have bags and someone's holding it up for you and you're punching it. That's not gonna help you. That's not what boxing does, right? In boxing, there's a huge part where you're learning how to actually move your body. So here's the crazy thing. Shaolin Kung Fu and boxing are literally the same format of being able to train a person into the ability of actually going into the ring. First, you learn how to move. Then you learn how to strike. Then you learn how to move and strike. Then you learn how to strike and move. And you finally learn how to hit something. Then once you've learned how to hit something, then you learn how to hit something while that something is trying to hit you back. Like there's a lot of information prior to the fight. And Krav doesn't have that because you have an individual who just, like I'm not trying to shit on him, but you have an individual, Eamon Lichtenfield, who wanted to create the shortest pathway to hand-to-hand combat. That's not effective. That'll never work. There are no shortcuts in hand-to-hand combat. There's only long roads, and they're brutal, painful, and not fun some of the time. There's only long roads and lots of hard work. That's the only thing that exists in martial arts. And if you're not willing to take those long, hard roads, you're not going to be successful, which is why you have Krav Maga. Then going back to the clip that I threw in earlier in my other video, where you have them saying that it's, oh, we've divided or we've solidified our stance in martial arts by adding in some sort of bullshit workout. Like, here you go.
We have worked very hard in Krav Maga to be responsible and to develop the most comprehensive training system in terms of physical fitness, fighting skills, and self-defense skills. And what we've done is we've realized that the body must be in good shape to function in a real life.
So it's like you have all of these things, and it's like, what am I actually learning? You're learning half of everything, which is essentially nothing. And I know what's the full version of it? Joker of all trades, master of none. And there's another saying to it, which I don't remember. Hopefully I'll put it up here in the title somewhere, which is right there. And not the title. The video, the words. Here we go. There you go. So it's like you have these things, and it's like, how are you supposed to ever learn anything? And this is something that I've discovered with Krav across the board. Krav Maga is trying way too hard to address the wrong things. They're focusing on techniques. Techniques don't almost never work. The only times where they work is if you have, like I said in my book, if you have complete control over your opponent, if you have, why do I always forget what it is that I said? Hold on. The technique must have a learned escape. The technique must maintain complete control over the opponent. The technique must allow the agility in combat. The technique must prevent the opponent from continuing the attack. This is the 4 rules of technique. If you're standing and you do any type of technique, you don't have 3 or more of these. And if you don't have 2, 3 or more of those, then you have a crappy technique. Why is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu always regarded, in my opinion, significantly higher than every other technique? Here's why. If you were going to do a standing armbar, which here's the video of a person doing a standing armbar, the technique must have a learned escape. You have to learn how to get out of that. Otherwise, your arm is going to be broken. The technique must maintain complete control over the opponent. You have complete control over the opponent unless they have a learned escape. The technique must allow the user agility in combat. There is nothing preventing them from rolling either directions, either back to the side or inward, to then maintaining to then have more agility or more control or less control of a person and be able to get away from it. The technique must prevent the opponent from continuing the attack. I mean, maybe the person could bite at their legs, but then break their arm. it's like these, like you have steps to be able to counteract. There's always a counter to a counter to, and there's always a counter to every move. Yes, I've heard that a million times. Yes, you are correct. There's always a counter to every move, but that's not the point. The point is, Krav doesn't hold by these rules, and because they don't hold by these rules, which other martial arts do innately, or they completely ignore them because they understand that it's about a styled fighting. So Krav is trying to please too many worlds, which is not true, which is not good. It's not true to the system of martial arts. You either learn how to fight and you do so in a fashion that makes you look good, because a 10-year experienced capoeira fighter versus a 10-year experienced Shaolin Kung Fu fighter, the fight's going to be good. The fight's going to be good. But if you have a 10-year experienced Krav Maga expert versus a 10-year experienced Krav expert, it's not going to be that great. Or a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter, it's not going to be that great. In Kung Fu, you can see these things. Helio Gracie went up against massive Kung Fu individuals who thought they understood grappling. Yet, here you are, watching him destroy all of these people. So, how to fix Krav Maga? How to fix Krav Maga? How do you fix Krav Maga? Well, I believe I said it already, but I'll say it again, because it's coming to the end of the video, and I want to be very clear with this. The way you fix Krav Maga is you have to specify on what it is that you want to be doing. If you want to be doing a self-defense thing is a conversation. Period. There's nothing more than that. It's a conversation. The reason why I say it's a conversation is because it's something that you talk about, and the second that you start enacting on these specific things, that is then home defense training. That is then hand-to-hand combat training. That is then weapons training. That is then grappling. It's something entirely different. The second that you move past that realm of a conversation, it's no longer self-defense. That's why. If you are to go the self-defense route, that's what it is. But if you're going to go to the hand-to-hand combat route, then pick your style, create it. There's nothing wrong with throwing different ways of a round kick. There's a million different ways out there. Create your own. Krav experts out there in the world, create your own. I think you can do it. But make sure it's not a bad technique. Make sure that you can actually deliver power with it. Make sure that you can actually deliver it with speed. Make sure you can do these things in tight situations, because I know for a fact all of these Kung Fu experts have that ability. I know for a fact that Taekwondo individuals, you can break one of their legs and they'll still probably throw a round kick at you. This is the level of dedication that Krav simply does not have. Now, if you're going to go the boxing, if you're going to go the grappling route, you got an even harder path to follow, because you already have submission wrestling, which has been going on since the beginning of time almost, and then you have the newly emerged Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is good luck. Good luck beating those guys, because those people were the Gracie family and that one count, I forgot what his name was. Those guys were essentially scientists that were in the field of martial arts. So if you want to do those, or even if you want to do weapons training, that's a much easier route, but then you're going to lose a lot of credibility, because you're just going to be a weapons training school, which is fine, especially in the realm of martial arts. And it's a lot harder because It's more politicized. And the more things that get politicized, the more it's difficult to actually grow because people's opinions. And it's not that people's opinions don't matter. It's that if you want something done, you have to then do it and then figure out what's wrong. Kind of like what happened with Krav. It became super popular, very good, very useful for a lot of people. Some people claim that it's helped them I've had students in the past that have used the techniques that they have learned from my Krav classes and implement them in real life and manage to actually escape successfully and be benefit the glory of that is life from the techniques that I've taught them. And that's something that I 100% understand. Krav Maga overall can be effective, but you should never be aiming to fight a drunk person in a bar. That should never be your bare minimum. Your bare minimum, like, that's a ridiculous standard. It's like, oh, well, I only do Krav because in case I get into a bar fight. Like, what? What? Like, what are you talking about, my guy? Like, what are you talking about, my guy? Like, what are you saying? Oh, I only want to get into a bar. I only take Krav because, well, if I'm walking down the street and some homeless dude comes at me, I need to know how to defend myself. Like, okay, what happens if that homeless dude is, like, I don't know, not saying that it's bad, but, like, let's say this drunk dude is dressed terribly. Let's say that dude is Yoel Romero. Say you're chilling in Florida, and all of a sudden, Yoel Romero, drunk as shit, coming at you, hitting on your girl, and you're like, I'm gonna beat you up. You're not. You're not. You're not. You're not, because you're aiming for a dude who's significantly less. And why do I normalize these people, like Yoel Romero, Conor McGregor? Because they have attacked people. Well, I don't know about Yoel Romero, but Conor McGregor has definitely attacked people, and he's not a small fish. He's not a small fish. I think even what's his name? John Bones Jones. I think even he attacked people, right? And, like, people are people. They make terrible decisions sometimes, and they make bad mistakes. But you have to be able to let them, you know. But what you can't do as a martial arts system, which I don't understand how anyone let this go, except for me apparently. You can't have the minimum standard of ability to fight is someone who can't fight. Like, that can't be your minimum standard. Like, your minimum standard can't be toddlers. like I feel like I'm being trolled almost. like how did we let the phrase, well, I just want to be able to defend myself in a bar fight in case I'm ever in that situation. How did we let that go? How do we let that happen? Like in all seriousness, man. Like, I just want to be able to fight people that can't fight back. It's like, you hear yourself? Bruh. Bruh. What is this? Ow. It's like, well, I'm not trying to fight professionally. Yeah. You're just trying to fight toddlers. Like, I get it. No, it's not about fighting like toddlers or anything like that. It's about learning how to perfect your craft. You don't go into pottery to have a hole in everything that you do. You know, you don't go into driving to be able to hit every 15th curb that you see. You know, you don't go into aircraft to only forget to put down 2 out of the 3 wheels. You know, this is kind of a dumb scenario to do that. You know, you don't go into reading a book to learn to completely forget certain words that are extremely common, like the word the. Like, imagine this entire video without the word the. You just be a fool. You know, that's what I would say is the exact equivalent of what Krav Maga has managed to get away with. We're just gonna skip the word the, and we're just gonna say we're fighting drunk people. Yeah, that'll work. And like, how the fuck? How did this happen? How do we do this? So, if we want to fix Krav, which again, I'm gonna repeat myself, if you want to fix Krav, you have to pick a side. You have to pick something and you have to commit to it. Because if you don't pick something and you don't commit to it, it's gonna disappear. I think it's already disappearing with what's happening right now with COVID-19. It's just going away. Because if you look at it, it's kind of ridiculous. It's like why? And then on top of that, martial arts prices. Like, here's this. You could be paying $200 in the greater Seattle area to go to one of the best gyms on the planet, until my gym is completely open, which is AMC Kickboxing. You'd be paying $200 and learn with some of the best people on the planet. I think Matt Hugh, he's out there. He trains people periodically. I think you have to like do certain things to like prove you're actually serious about training, because I understand this. Like, this is something that people don't often understand. If you don't want to train, it sucks, because if you don't want to put the effort in and actually go through the grueling efforts, it's really hard to want to like train someone and then it's like, oh, well, I don't really care about martial arts. Like, get the hell out of here, though. This is for stuff that people care about. For $200, you can train with them. But there's like 3 other gyms that are all Krav based, and they're like 170 each. So for $30 less, you can learn 100% less. And it's just like, Matt Hume, he teaches hand-to-hand combat, grappling, and Muay Thai. He's a fantastic fighter. He has Demetrius Johnson, who's like the best on the planet, period, for his weight class. And it's like, no one could fuck with him. It's like, damn. So, I mean, it's hard to sell for $30 less. Like, for $30 more, you could learn with the best of the best. Or you can learn BS and claim that you're actually learning things, which is a huge problem. You know, like, martial arts isn't... If anything from this video, and you martial arts instructors that are actually Krav instructors are taking away from this video, it's important to realize you're not just teaching people a system or a style. You're teaching someone the ability to protect themselves, right? And I feel like martial artists, and this is something that why I created the underscore for, right? It's going to be a long process, and but essentially this is something that I created the underscore for, which my next video is going to be about the underscore's ranking system, which I strongly recommend all of you guys look into it and start implementing it. If you want to implement it and you already have black belts and all of that stuff, email me. We'll figure it out. But we have to stop pretending that martial arts is not going to be used in a life or death situation. We have to stop this, because it's the biggest detriment to the martial arts community. It's absolutely ridiculous to assume that no one is going to get hurt with these things. It's absolutely ridiculous to assume that your life is not on the line. They're coming to you because they need your help, because you have said that you know how to fight and you know how to defend yourself. And they're coming to you specifically, so that you can teach them those same exact things, so that they can be safe when it comes to their time to protect themselves or their friends or their family. So you can't teach them shit products. Like, I'm trying not to swear, but you cannot teach them bad products. You cannot. Because the second that you give them bad products, the second that you give them something bad, you have now cheapened the entire martial arts system, the entire martial arts world. And we cannot do this anymore. And we have to start making a change. And look for my next video. It's going to be rank 1, the underscore or something. I don't know what the name is going to be. How to fix martial arts belting system, I think, is probably going to be it. I think that's actually probably a good title for it. How to fix the martial arts belting system. Cause it's absolute trash. Give you a little snippet on where I'm gonna go with this. 12-year-old black belts. Okay. So Krav Maga, end this video. Krav Maga, if you really want to actually be useful, if you really want to be a staple, and you want to be more than just a scam on the face of the earth, then you have to pick. You have to pick a system, and you have to go with that system, and you have to be consistent with it. Because if you're not, you're gonna die. Like, you're not that interesting, and most of you guys can't even fight. I mean, half of everyone that I've ever known that has ever taken Krav did 1 or 2 different martial arts, and then they focused more on those martial arts than training more in Krav, because Krav's not that great. So, I think I made that clear. If I didn't make it clear, leave a comment in the video. We'll get back to you. All right. Awesome work, peoples. I love how we did this whole communication thing. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to have more of these videos and about martial arts. I know Ramsey Dewey's probably doing the more long format and more amazing stuff with video production and audio quality and just better looks. But I don't have a bald head. What at? That made sense. Bye.